The execution chamber of the Galactic Council trembled with an energy all its own. 4 cycles uncounted, I, Ragnar, High Executor of the 7th Quadrant, had presided over the end of countless civilizations. Yet this occasion carried a weight unlike any other. Esteemed counselors, I declared, my primary vocal sac thrumming with restrained exhilaration. Today we enact a demonstration without precedent, a testament to the eternal supremacy of our dominion. The hall itself was a marvel of impossible architecture, hewn from matter collapsed at the heart of a neutron star. 3 gravitational wells anchored its vastness, pulling order from chaos so the chamber could exist at all. Delegates of more than 200 species filled the tiers, each presence a reminder of the reach of our empire. Above, the mist walkers of Nebula 7 drifted, their gaseous forms curling in hues of violet and green like nebular tides. On the lower terraces, the Petra Collective shimmered, crystalline carapaces splitting light into rainbows with every motion. Even the secretive quantum swimmers had projected a fragment of themselves into our dimension, though their bodies quivered and phased in and out of sight. "Bring forth the specimen," I commanded. Energy barriers came alive with a resonant hum, assembling into a perfect cube at the chamber's center. Suspended within, bound by gravity clamps, was a human female. Alexandra Mason, former captain of the Earth vessel Star Wanderer, captured during her doomed attempt to plead for humanity's recognition within our dominion. "Observe this fragile organism," sneered Grand Sovereign Yggdrasil. His scales flushed from cobalt to searing crimson as he hissed his disdain. So limited, bound to a single form, enslaved by linear time, caged in binary gender. Pathetic. Ripples of agreement surged across the chamber. Some species extruded sensory appendages to study her more closely. Others tuned their quantum arrays, dissecting her essence at levels beyond perception. I continued, lowering my secondary vocal sac to weave harmonics of contempt into my address. This creature dared to insist her species deserved equal standing among us. Worse still, she claimed humanity possessed traits we lacked: adaptability, resilience. Such arrogance will not be tolerated. Chief Scientist Miraval slithered forward, a dozen tentacles dancing across her console. "Remarkable nonetheless," she murmured. "Their neural networks exhibit extraordinary plasticity. And their emotional spectra, so volatile, so unpredictable. Truly fascinating." Commander Dorn stamped his grav amplifiers, the floor rippling beneath the force. "Enough of this drivel. Let us remind the galaxy what fate awaits those who overreach." I raised all 4 of my primary limbs. Silence cascaded through the chamber until only the gentle whir of the life support arrays and the thrum of the containment cube remained. "Alexandra Mason," I intoned, savoring the weight of her name. "Your kind threatens the balance we have preserved for eons. Your existence itself is a defiance of order. And so you shall serve as example, your punishment etched into the memory of every emergent civilization." Her gaze, those primitive optical sensors, locked on me. Then her lips pulled into what her species called a smile. The strange baring of teeth, so grotesque in the face of annihilation. "You really do enjoy hearing yourself speak, don't you, Ragnar?" she said, her tone edged with equal parts mirth and disdain. Gasps and low pulses rippled through the assembly. No prisoner had ever dared speak to me in such insolence. "Begin the extraction sequence," I snarled, fury quaking my voice sacs. "We shall harvest her pain for the Council's entertainment. Let us see how long her defiance lasts." Panels slid open. Probes of polished alloy, tipped with latticework sensors, emerged with surgical grace. Energy arced as the containment field adapted, optimized for torment. But Alexandra remained still. That maddening smile clung to her face. "Remember," she said suddenly, her voice projecting to every corner of the hall. "Whatever happens now, it is your choice. Your burden. Not mine." Some among the more sensitive species flinched. Readouts spiked. minor distortions across the temporal field, strange oscillations in the quantum substrate. Irrelevant, I told myself. The only thing that mattered was our demonstration of dominance. The first probe pierced the boundary and interfaced with her nervous system. For the record, I declared in formal cadence, ensuring the annals of the Council would note our triumph. This marks the 723rd uprising crushed beneath our supremacy. Like all before them, humanity shall kneel in the cosmic order. Vital signs pulsed on the holoscreens encircling the chamber. Strangely steady. Most species broke long before this stage. Extraordinary, Miravel whispered, weaving new parameters. Their pain threshold is far beyond projections. Increase neural input by 30%. The field flared with sharp bursts of energy. Alexandra's body convulsed, and yet her smile persisted. Then she laughed. A deep, unsettling laugh that cut through the chamber like a blade. You don't understand, she said, voice trembling with pain yet still carrying strength. Humans have been breaking each other for millennia. Torture is nothing new to us. We've been preparing for this all along. Yggdrasil's scales rippled violently, shifting to an incandescent red. Silence the aberration. This is no stage for their primitive fables. But Commander Dorn's stance faltered. His grav amplifiers hissed with unease. Something is wrong here, he muttered. By now, every other species begged for mercy. I dismissed him with a sharp gesture. More human arrogance. They all believe themselves exceptional, until their blood cools like the rest. But then, the quantum swimmer's projection pulsed erratically, its dimensional form spasming with alarm. Temporal fluctuations intensifying around the specimen, Miravel's voice wavered, her tentacles flickering across the interface in erratic spirals. I recommend immediate cessation of the procedure. Nonsense, I thundered, my vocal sacs amplifying to fill the chamber. Increase power to maximum levels. Let every dignitary present bear witness to why no species has ever survived an extraction. At that, the human's laughter rang out again, louder, sharper, and disturbingly melodic. Scarlet threads of blood traced downward from her nostrils. Her eyes glowed with a radiance our instruments failed to categorize. You want to hear something amusing? She gasped between spasms of laughter, voice crackling with both agony and something more dangerous, delight. On Earth, we have a saying, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. The delegates shifted uncomfortably. Her grin widened. But no one ever asked, what happens when what kills you makes you stronger? The chamber's temperature plummeted several degrees. The mist walkers, normally drifting in fluid shapes, condensed into rigid knots of violet and green, defensive postures none of us had ever witnessed. Vital signs nearing critical collapse, Miravel reported, her movements frantic, tentacles blurring over her controls. But these readings are paradoxical. Her cellular lattice is destabilizing at the quantum scale. Maintain full output, I ordered, though unease tightened my command. The process continues until death is confirmed. Across the lower tiers, the Petra collective resonated in fractured harmonics, a dissonance signaling species-level distress. Their crystalline forms vibrated visibly, scattering beams of light in chaotic patterns. Chronological anomalies spreading through the chamber, another scientist hissed. Her temporal signature is unraveling. Alexandra Mason's body arched violently against the restraints, her skin erupting with a phosphorescent glow that illuminated the chamber in surreal hues. You know your great mistake? She whispered through clenched teeth. Believing conquest meant comprehension. Hundreds of species, and you still don't understand life. Humanity doesn't just adapt. Her body convulsed, bursting capillaries etching glowing crimson lines across her flesh in intricate, living symbols. We evolve. Containment alarms screamed. Energy levels soared beyond measurable thresholds. Shut it down. Commander Dorn bellowed, his grav amplifiers shuddering under his weight. Something's catastrophically wrong. But it was too late. With a final, jagged spike on the displays, Alexandra Mason's life signs flatlined. Her body slumped within the gravitic restraints, frozen mid-smile, her teeth bared in that unnerving, final defiance. Silence seized the chamber. The quantum swimmers phased partially from our dimension, their forms fragmenting in chaotic wave. Their agitation reverberated across timelines. Death confirmed, Miraval announced at last, her tone brittle. Exactly 37 minutes into the sequence. Recommend immediate disposal before. Before what? I snapped, my voice suddenly smaller than I intended. Her answer was drowned beneath the simultaneous collapse of every display. The chamber plunged into crimson emergency light. Shadows stretched long across alien architecture as the containment cube pulsed violently. Alexandra's corpse began to glow. For an instant, relief swept through me. Monitors remained flat. Dead was dead. The Petra collective settled, their crystals resonating once more in calm, harmonious tones. The mist walkers loosened their rigid formations, drifting back into their normal swirling elegance. Record the termination, I declared, forcing strength back into my voice. Let it be etched into history. The human Alexandra Mason expired after 37 minutes of just correction. Another triumph of the natural order. Pheromones of celebration filled the air as various species engaged in their rituals of victory. Yggdrasil's scales shifted to victory gold, shimmering with smug satisfaction. Prepare disposal, I commanded Miraval. Atomize the remains and broadcast the particles across 7 systems, as tradition requires. She hesitated, her tentacles dragging sluggishly across the console. High Executor, the post-mortem readings are anomalous. Her cells continue to fluctuate quantumly despite absolute termination. Impossible, Yggdrasil snapped, scales flaring crimson again. Dead flesh obeys the law of entropy. Not even humans can elude it. Commander Dorn's grav sensors flared with warning light. Artificial gravity wells destabilizing, containment field fracturing in microbursts. Meaningless errors, I dismissed, sweeping all 4 limbs in a gesture of authority. Begin disposal. Cleanse the chamber before the feast. Disposal probes slid from their housings, their molecular dissemblers humming with lethal precision. But as they neared the corpse, the air itself turned brittle with cold. The quantum swimmer pulsed violently in alarm. Warning! Severe paradox waves emanating from the specimen. Distortions reaching critical thresholds. Miraval's tentacles writhed. These readings, her cells, they are rewriting themselves. At the quantum level. That is a contradiction, Yggdrasil hissed, scales flaring with furious red. A corpse cannot resist disposal. The probes convulsed mid-operation. Their dissemblers shrieked, sparked, and shattered into fragments that cascaded harmlessly against the energy field. What trickery is this? Yggdrasil roared. No dead organism has ever resisted destruction. The containment matrix faltered, energy patterns spasming into chaotic geometries. Alexandra's body lifted unnaturally within the restraints, suspended not by machinery but by forces we did not understand. Her skin ignited with waves of light so brilliant, so alien, that even hardened counselors turned away, their optics seared by the radiance. Evacuation protocols! Dorn shouted, activating his emergency beacon. Dignitaries must withdraw immediately. But the chamber doors sealed with a thunderous finality. No exit remained. Panic spread like wildfire. The mist walkers surged upward, forcing their vaporous bodies toward the ventilation shafts, but even those routes closed under walls of inexplicable energy. We were trapped, and the corpse of Alexandra Mason burned brighter still. This is nothing more than a malfunction, I insisted, though my voice sacs trembled despite my effort to maintain authority. The human is dead. Confirmed dead. What we are seeing is residual cellular energy, nothing more. But my words rang hollow. The Petra collective vibrated in raw terror, their crystalline bodies shattering into chaotic frequencies. Miraval's instruments wailed with data beyond interpretation. Her quantum signature is expanding exponentially. Executor, it is as though death itself is being rewritten. Alexandra's body convulsed within the restraint. Her flesh split open like porcelain fracturing under impossible pressure, spilling golden radiance from every crack. The chamber's quantum screens shattered in cascades of sparks. Impossible! Miraval's tentacles writhed like serpents in panic. Her cellular structure is reassembling itself with elements absent from any known table of matter. The artificial gravity wells buckled. Dignitaries from every corner of the galaxy floated helplessly as the chamber's environmental systems descended into chaos. Emergency klaxons wailed, their tones twisting until they became disturbingly like human laughter. A voice echoed, though Alexandra's lips did not move. Still think humans are primitive? The glow from her cracked skin intensified until her chest surged upward with a violent breath. She inhaled life itself. Her eyes flared open, burning with golden fire. The restraints liquefied into molten metal, rising to orbit her body in shimmering rings like planetary halos. The human was alive. The human was dead. The human was something else. Something no science of ours had conceived. Something our empire had never prepared to confront. And she smiled. That same maddening, irreverent smile. 37 minutes, she intoned, her voice vibrating across impossible frequencies, resonating through bone, thought, and memory. You gave me 37 minutes to explore death from the inside out. How generous of you! The molten rings around her swirled into sacred geometries, shapes that strained our vision to comprehend. Her skin rippled with golden waves, her hair drifting in unseen currents like strands suspended in liquid light. Lethal force authorized. Dorn roared, slamming commands into his grav amplifiers. The chamber's hidden weaponry deployed, massive energy cannons snapping into position. Power surged, enough to unmake a moon. She laughed, a sound that vibrated across dimensions, shivering against every nerve. Fascinating, she mused as the weapons discharged. Beams of annihilation streaked toward her, then froze. Light itself obeyed her whim, unraveling into ribbons that twirled and danced like silken streamers. She idly wove them into her hair. Death isn't an end, she whispered, her words carrying like thunder. It's a door. And you just taught me how to pick its lock. The mist walkers tried to flee, dissolving fully into their gaseous state. Alexandra flicked her hand, and they crystallized mid-flight, their flowing forms calcified into dazzling statues, each face frozen in eternal horror. Impossible! Miraval shrieked, tentacles knotting themselves in frantic computation. Her energy readings match those of a collapsing neutron star, yet she contains them within human cellular architecture. This cannot be. Alexandra looked down at her glowing hands with mock surprise. Oh? Is that what this is? Because it feels more like everything. All at once. Forever. Yggdrasil's scales shifted into hues never before catalogued, bleeding into colors that bent the eye. His voice cracked with fear masked as command. By authority of the Galactic Council, cease this violation of natural law. Her golden gaze fell upon him. His scales transmuted instantly into heavy precious metals, his once proud body crashing to the floor with the weight of his own flesh. Natural law? Alexandra floated closer, trailing stardust and broken certainty in her wake. You claim dominion over natural law, yet never questioned why humanity alone forged countless religions. Why we built philosophies around death itself. We've been preparing for this since the first time we looked skyward and wondered what waits beyond the grave. The quantum swimmers attempted to phase away, vanishing into higher strata of existence. Alexandra snapped her fingers. Reality itself buckled, dragging them back into our dimension. Their impossible geometries collapsed into tortured forms no one dared to look upon for long. She spoke softly, almost conversationally, even as chaos erupted in the chamber. The best part? I'm not the first. Have you never heard of Lazarus? Or Jesus? Your arrogance dismissed our stories as myth, but they were roadmaps, clues. We've been mapping Death's terrain since our history began. Her image fractured, replicating itself. Dozens of Alexandras stepped from her body, each glowing with that same golden fire, each bearing that same smile. They walked through walls, glided through matter as though it had no meaning. Stop this! I cried, my voice sax distended to breaking. The Galactic Council offers surrender. Every version of Alexandra turned toward me in unison, golden eyes piercing. Surrender? She asked. No. You don't get to surrender. You get to watch. You get to learn. You will finally understand why humanity is different. The shattered quantum screens reassembled, now displaying scenes from Earth's history. Images of famine, wars, and plagues. Floods and fire. Extinctions survived by skin, will, and hope. This is what you never grasped. Every Alexandra spoke as one, voices overlapping into an unbearable chorus. Humans do not merely survive catastrophe. We absorb it. We consume it. Each calamity transforms us. Every apocalypse arms us with new resilience. And death. Reality quivered like disturbed water. Death is the greatest trial of all. She raised her hands, and the fabric of existence itself began to ripple. The walls of the chamber, forged from neutron star matter, turned suddenly transparent, offering an unfiltered view of the void beyond. Our defense fleet hung there in formation, a wall of firepower designed to terrify lesser civilizations. Watch closely, Alexandra commanded. Her countless copies converged into a single form that radiated like the heart of a newborn sun. I'll show you why humanity fills its stories with gods, angels, and demons. Spoiler, we weren't inventing myth. We were remembering what we could become. Her body began to fracture reality itself. She grew vast and minute at once, expanding across dimensions yet folding neatly into the chamber's confined geometry. From her back, wings of raw energy unfurled, spanning light years yet fitting seamlessly within the space. The Council has records of every species you've crushed, she said, her voice not bound by sound but rippling through the vacuum of space. I can feel them now inside me. Every voice, every memory, every civilization you erased. Her golden eyes narrowed. Shall I show you what happens when they all return? Outside, the fleet dissolved into radiant dust, their ships unraveling into shimmering clouds of possibility. Alexandra raised hands of pure light, tracing lines through the fabric of spacetime as though drawing patterns in cosmic sand. Thank you, she said, smiling with radiance enough to shame a star. Thank you for the gift of death. Now let me demonstrate what humanity does with gifts. She gestured, and the void obeyed. A dying sun reassembled itself from scattered atoms, its brilliance condensing back into a perfect sphere of fire. She had inverted entropy itself, reweaving a supernova in reverse. This, she said almost casually, is what resurrection looks like. Her laugh resonated through quantum foam as she dismantled our empire piece by piece. The irony, she whispered. I was the diplomatic officer of my ship. I was meant to prevent conflict. The grand archives of the Council, an eternal repository containing millennia of knowledge, ruptured into a storm of golden butterflies. Each fragment carried the memory of a conquered species and scattered them across the stars, returning what we had stolen. But perhaps this is diplomacy, Alexandra mused, absent-mindedly rearranging the orbits of an entire solar system into elegant symmetry. After all, I'm ending future conflicts forever, by showing you why challenging humanity is folly. Commander Dorn triggered evacuation. Escape pods launched, streaking into space, only to be transfigured into delicate soap bubbles. They drifted endlessly through the void, their occupants screaming in terror as they floated on without end. Did you know, Alexandra asked, now manifesting in every seat of the chamber simultaneously, that humans have a concept called karma? It means everything you do eventually comes back to you. The Petra Collective attempted to vanish into an asteroid belt, but Alexandra's golden hand reached casually across parsec. The asteroids transmuted into vast wind chimes. The Petra were fused into the structures as crystalline clappers, ringing out ancient human melodies across the silence of the void. For example, she said as her manifestations spoke in unison, "You delighted in my pain. Now you'll experience every shred of suffering you inflicted on others. And don't worry," she grinned with divine cruelty, "I'll keep bringing you back. Just as you did to me." Grand Sovereign Yggdrasil attempted to broadcast a warning, but Alexandra twisted his shimmering scales into screens, each one replaying the death of a species the Council had exterminated. His body collapsed beneath the weight of unbearable history. "Oh, and since we're discussing human emotions," she continued, pirouetting through space itself, trailing stars like ribbons of fire, "let me introduce you to the ones you mocked. Rage sharpens us. Vengeance gives us purpose. And spite," she laughed. "Spite is the most exquisite motivator of all." The quantum swimmers initiated a desperate paradox, intending to erase the last hour from time itself. Alexandra caught the fragile loop in her palm as one might hold a soap bubble. She blew upon it gently, transforming it into an endless cycle, forcing the swimmers to endure their own methods of extinction for eternity. "But my favorite human emotion?" she asked, casually juggling black holes like toys. "Satisfaction. The pure joy of a job well done." Then she sang. The sound was not music, not sound at all, but creation itself. Her voice remade solar systems destroyed ages past. The harmonics resurrected species we had consigned to dust. The rhythm reordered constellations according to a pattern only she could perceive. "Let's make this interesting," Alexandra declared, conjuring a throne of condensed starlight. She seated herself with the calm of a queen who had already won. "Every time you attempt escape, I'll show you another aspect of humanity you never cared to understand." She snapped her fingers. "Let's start with our gift for innovation." Miraval, trembling, attempted to fire a data burst across galaxies, a warning of our doom. Alexandra plucked the transmission from the ether, reshaping it into a recipe for human comfort food. She baked cookies in the heat of collapsing stars, offering the impossible confections to her horrified audience. "No," she said lightly, smiling at our silence. "More for me. Not that I need to eat anymore. I just enjoy the smell." The final remnants of our fleet attempted mass self-destruction rather than endure further humiliation. Alexandra transformed their explosions into fireworks, plasma bursts spelling messages across the void. "Humanity says hello. Wish you were here." "You know what's truly amusing?" she asked while weaving strands of spacetime into matter that pulsed with raw emotion. "This is me being merciful. Some humans would have ended you instantly. But where's the lesson in that? Our emergency beacon. The last weapon, designed to annihilate our entire species if activated, disintegrated into golden dust. The particles reformed into replicas of human art, drifting through the chamber like sacred relic. "Consider this," Alexandra said, rising from her throne as if conducting a grand symphony, her arms guiding solar winds and gravity waves like instruments, a teaching moment. Her golden gaze swept across us all. Lesson 1. Humans are masters at turning trauma into strength. Lesson 2. We remember everything. I summoned the last tattered threads of authority I had left. By order of the Galactic Council. "Oh, that reminds me," Alexandra interrupted, snapping fingers of pure radiance. "The Galactic Council is hereby reorganized into a traveling theater troupe." The words alone unmade the chamber. Our citadel of law and power became an ornate playhouse. Restraint devices morphed into blazing spotlights. The weapons lining the walls transfigured into musical instruments, humming as though eager to be played. Cells once used for prisoners became dressing rooms stocked with costumes from Earth's long history. Your first productions will be human historical dramas, she explained, now manifest as a constellation in the shape of a winking face. Performed before the very species you enslave. Don't worry about memorizing your lines, she smirked. I've written them into your genes. Break a leg. Theater talk, by the way. 10,000 years have passed since that day. I know, because Alexandra keeps a clock the size of a galaxy, ticking away each second since her resurrection. She says it's for entertainment. I suspect it's to remind us. Places everyone. Her voice still echoes across the fabric of reality whenever she announces a show. Tonight's performance of Hamlet begins in 5 minutes. And Ragnar, try not to overact Polonius this time. The former Grand Sovereign Yggdrasil, now reduced to our costume master, fusses over my ceremonial robes. His metallic scales glint beneath the stage lights, once the glow of military command, now illumination for comedy. You know the cruelest truth? I whisper to him as we prepare for our 10,000th performance. She was right about humans. We should have accepted their hand when they first offered it. Alexandra materializes beside us, glowing with her eternal, impossible light. She wears the guise of a stage manager now. Headset perched on her shimmering form, clipboard forged of condensed starlight in her grasp. Spoiler alert, she whispers with a wink that makes nearby suns flare. That's actually the plot of next week's show. A musical comedy, the greatest diplomatic failure in galactic history. 3 acts. Lots of singing. The audience begins to file in, not subjects but sovereign civilizations, reborn under her will. The once broken species we conquered now thrive, and they adore our plays, especially the comedies. Nothing delights them more than seeing their former oppressors stumble through slapstick. And the strangest thing? We adore it too. The terror faded centuries ago, replaced by genuine admiration for humanity's endless well of stories. Her punishment became a gift, one we never earned, yet one we needed. Think fast. Alexandra laughs, tossing me a script that manifests from nothing. Its pages are carved from crystallized time, each one shimmering with alternate timelines. In one, we accepted human friendship. In another, we fought harder and fell faster. In all of them, humanity endured. Humanity evolved. Next month's show, she explains, will be a galaxy-wide collaboration. Every species will tell their story of first contact with humans. We're calling it The Day the Universe Learned to Laugh. She pauses then, for once serious. You want to hear the funniest thing? She asks, adjusting the fabric of reality the way a director adjusts a curtain. Those 37 minutes I spent dead taught me something profound. Every being in creation is connected. Every wound you inflicted was really just hurting yourselves. With a sweep of her hand, the theater walls turn transparent. The galaxy beyond is transformed. Where once our empire enforced cold order, countless civilizations now shine in vibrant chaos. Art flows between the stars. Music traverses nebulae. Stories ripple across light years. That's why I chose this punishment, she continues, her form shifting through countless human figures from history. Not vengeance. Redemption. Every story you perform heals a scar. Every play restores a bond. Every laugh stitches this galaxy together. The house lights dim, newly born stars softening into a glow. I step onto the stage. For the first time in 10,000 years, I feel gratitude. Gratitude that we failed to erase humanity. Gratitude that Alexandra Mason remade us into something better, though her methods were terrifyingly creative. Oh, Ragnar! Her voice slips into my mind as the curtain begins to rise. Remember when you asked me, long ago, if I would ever forgive you? I freeze. That moment, a desperate plea 9 millennia past, burns in my memory. Today's the day, she says cheerfully. Congratulations. You've learned your lesson. You're free. The curtain rises. The audience waits. My fellow performers stare at one another in shock. Well, Alexandra's voice rings out, echoing in every seat, every atom of space. Return to your old empire? Or take your places for tonight's show? Without hesitation, every member of the former Galactic Council answers in unison. The show must go on. Alexandra's laughter cascades through dimensions as she takes her place in the celestial lighting booth. Now that, she says with radiant pride, is the most human thing you've ever done. And so we perform, not from fear but from choice. Because somewhere between the terror and the laughter, between punishment and redemption, we learned the truth. Life is richer as a story shared among friends than an empire carved from fear. Even if countless had to die before the lesson took root. Milky Way closing message for the audience. And as this tale draws to an end, I leave you with a thought. What if humanity truly is destined to evolve in ways no empire can contain? What if survival, resilience, and imagination are our greatest powers? If this story sparked wonder, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next journey through the stars. Like, share, and comment below with your thoughts. What did you feel when Alexandra Mason defied death? Which sci-fi worlds and ideas would you like to explore next? After all, the show must go on.